Welcome to the Freshwater Tissue Mill located in Samoa on the north coast of California where the redwoods meet the sea. The mill site covers approximately 150 acres of land located on a 10-mile long peninsula with an adjacent deep-sea port. It is ideally located to serve China and other Asian countries. The Samoa Mill is vital to the timber industry and our community. When the Samoa Mill reopens, it will consume sawmill byproducts and unwanted disease-stricken tan oak trees. Freshwater Tissue anticipates hiring a labor force of 215 men and women who will be members of the Association of Western Pulp and Paper Workers. According to the industry studies, an additional 1,300 indirect jobs will be created by the reopening of the Samoa Mill. We would like to take you on a tour of our facilities and give you a better understanding of who we are and what we do here. The footage was created when the mill was operated by Louisiana Pacific Corporation. Numerous improvements have been installed at the mill since this film was produced. Our presentation will show you how wood chips are processed and turned into a high-quality market pulp used in making various paper products you use in your home and businesses. Our products are made in the most environmentally responsible manner in the country. In fact, the Samoa Mill is the only chlorine-free bleached kraft pulp mill in the United States. The Samoa Mill has a second product equally important to our pulp. The Samoa Mill process generates biofuel in its pulping process. During the pulping process, the cellulose is separated and cleaned, leaving lignin, methanol, turpentine, and other wood sugars. These fuel sources are separated through a distillation process, evaporated to make them more efficient, and burned in a recovery boiler. The steam produced in the boiler is used to turn a turbine, which generates nearly 100% of the Samoa Mill's power requirements. Pulp chips are byproducts of sawmills. The Samoa Mill has historically purchased chips from sawmills located throughout California and as far away as Roseburg, Oregon. Freshwater Tissue intends to purchase pulp chips only from the California redwood region. When the Samoa Mill reopens, it intends to consume 50% tan oak chips, 40% redwood chips, and 10% Douglas fir chips. When the chip trucks arrive, they back onto a hydraulic dump and are elevated to empty their contents. The pulp chips are then moved by two 990 Caterpillar loaders and conveyor belts to the screening room. It will take approximately 24 hours from the time the chips enter the screening room until exiting as finished pulp. Once the pulp chips are in the screen room, they are sorted by size and species are blended in order to achieve the characteristics specified by our pulp recipe. The chips are then stored in the silo while waiting to be used. In its new configuration, the Samoa Mill will produce approximately 550 tons of tissue per day. Wood is a combination of lignin and cellulose. Cellulose is the portion that becomes pulp, while lignin is the glue that binds those fibers together. The pulping process must separate the cellulose from the lignin to make usable pulp and tissue products. When the chips are ready for use, they travel by conveyor belt to the steaming vessel, where the chemicals are injected to begin the pulping process. This is the digester. It is much like a huge pressure cooker and the most significant piece of equipment in converting a chip into pulp. In the digester, the chemicals, in conjunction with high temperature and pressure, work to dissolve the lignin without destroying the cellulose fiber. The slurry from the digester goes through this series of washers to remove any remaining lignin and chemicals. Bleaching chemicals are then added to brighten the pulp as needed to produce the product our markets demand. Throughout the pulping and bleaching process, the chemicals and water are recycled to lower cost, conserve energy, and minimize waste. Once the pulp is cleaned and brightened, it is then prepared for shipping. First, we dilute it so it will flow easily and evenly. Next, it enters the head box, which is a piece of equipment that spreads the pulp out onto a large moving wire conveyor to help form the pulp sheet. The majority of the water is removed during this step. The pulp then passes through a series of presses that remove additional water and help bond the fibers together. The sheet then snakes around 24 drums that are heated with steam to continue the drying process. The remaining moisture is removed as the pulp passes through a pizza-style oven that forces hot air over the pulp sheet. The pulp sheet is then cut, baled, and banded for shipping. The bales are taken by forklift to the warehouse for storage. Freshwater's finished pulp will be delivered to its customers primarily by ship. The pulp is loaded by large gantry cranes onto a vessel. Once delivered to the customer, the pulp is made into a variety of products such as toilet tissue, toweling, writing paper, coffee filters, cardboard boxes, and paper plates. To compete with our global competitors, Freshwater will lower its cost of wood fiber by purchasing pulp chips from regional sawmills and by buying locally grown tan oak logs that it will convert into pulp chips. We will install additional bleaching equipment to lower our consumption of hydrogen peroxide, increase fiber yield, and improve pulp brightness. The Samoa Mill was fortunate to have a dedicated union labor force to oversee the operation of the equipment. The maintenance department makes sure everything is in top condition. Engineering makes sure the equipment is constructed to the highest standards and properly installed. The laboratory employees are responsible for quality control and product improvement. The environmental department assures environmental compliance and seeks ways to further eliminate pollution. Safety develops programs and procedures to assure all employees return home safely. Accounting and administration assure the business remains economically viable. A new recovery boiler was constructed in 1990, which reduced air emissions by 90%. In 1994, the Samoa Mill became the first totally chlorine-free pulp mill in the United States. Removing chlorine from the process eliminated a safety risk to employees, and it removed dioxin from the mill's wastewater discharge. In 1995, an incinerator was constructed to burn waste gases, greatly reducing the release of odors and toxins to the atmosphere. In 1996, a steam stripper was added to remove pollutants from the wastewater, and the X-filter was installed to help clean up chemicals used in the cooking process and recycle them rather than discharging them to the ocean. More recently, a system was installed to collect vent gases from each of the storage tanks for incineration. The environmental performance of the Samoa Mill is critical to our success. Our goal is to be the greenest pulp mill on the planet. We hope that you have enjoyed learning about the pulp mill process and our ongoing commitment to the environment, our community, and the families who work here.